Hi, everyone, and welcome. So, today we are going to discuss our book that we read in July, which is Tower Lord by Anthony Ryan. So, this is the second book in the Raven's Shadow trilogy. I loved Bloodsong a lot, and I know that a lot of people didn't really like Tower Lord, so I'm interested to see how Epic and Steve liked this. But before we are going to start, let Epic and Steve introduce themselves.
EpicTalez, you already know who it is. It's I really enjoyed this book. I kind of get why people don't like it as much as Bloodsong, but for me, that's a positive, instead of a negative. Like I'll go more into that as the discussion goes on. Yeah,
And my
hello.
name is. It's hard to. It's always hard to follow Epic on introductions because he's great at it. But I'm Steve from Steve Talks Books and Stuff, and I'm excited to talk about Tower Lord.
Yeah, so it seems like both of you liked it, or what were your general ideas about the book?
Anthony Ryan is a genius. He's actually a genius. I when I'm reading his book, I forget that like I'm a booktuber and I need to like see like what I need to like break. I'm not thinking. So there's something that Tolkien said when you're writing fantasy, and that is that like the person that's reading the book can't like question like your writing decisions. Like they need to accept everything as it's coming and just like be engrossed in the story. And I get that when I'm reading Anthony Ryan. This is just his second book, but like this book is really good, really good.
I think it's tough when you coming from a book like Bloodsong, and coming. I mean, it's a high bar,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's a different experience. The second book is always seems like it's a tough. It's a tough book to pull off. The second book in a trilogy. But when I started this book, because we came off another fantasy series that shall not be named, and when I started reading, I was just a few
Oh my
pages
god.
in to Tower Lord, and the best way I can explain it is, you have like a pair of shoes that you wear, and they like fit to your feet perfect, and they're really comfortable, and it's like you just feel at one with your shoes. It's kind of like that. Reading this, I just got right back into it, and the writing style just really easy to follow. It just felt you feel like you're home.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it was
That's
a nice change.
that's how it felt. Good description. It felt like home.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can see that Brandy also liked it, but not as much as Bloodsong. I can see why. I think that it's also a sort of personal preference, probably, where Bloodsong you have one POV, and then in this one you have multiple. Bloodsong you also have like the coming of age story. You have the school like setting. I like that quite a bit. But for me, surprisingly, I thought that Tower Lord was very close.
Hmm.
I think maybe in writing style, like Steve said, it's easy, but it's not a simple type of writing style. It's not that he uses short sentences. It's very beautiful prose, but it's just very easy to read. And you have some books that if you read 50 pages, it's like I'm done for today. And with this one, I didn't feel like that. So yeah, I liked it quite a bit.
So I feel like the reason why people who read Blood Song are a bit salty when they read Tower Lord is because so Blood Song has one POV. In that POV he basically does some of the best character development, best character work I've seen. It's like some of the best out there, and we're all in Valen, and this guy really makes us like empathize with Valen, makes us want to like we really want him to succeed. The way he makes his decision, the way he reveals information, everything centered around Valen. And for people that like character based books very well, like it's very easy to see why Blood Song is a masterpiece. Now, right, with Tower Lord, he did something different, and it was something that was absent in. I didn't mind that it was absent in book one, but it was in book two, and that was he did a very brilliant world building. Now, there's something there's this there's there's this masterclass, Dan Brown's masterclass on writing. He says something about, and I'm sure everyone knows who Dan Brown is, brilliant writer. He says something about when you're introducing like a new concept, or when you're telling a story and you want to basically like introduce something new, or there's something important you want people to learn. Like when it comes to POV, you don't have to always use like a protagonist point of view, or like a character that you know people like a lot. What you do is that you use a POV that has the best perspective to represent whatever you're trying to let your readers know. In this case, it was world building. And what he did with Frentis, because in part one, he just talks very vaguely about all these different empires, and like he talk about like a few characters here and there, and but then Frentis being a slave, like the way he was a slave, and like making like doing all those things he was doing, like at the beck and call of a very, very mysterious woman, and not understanding it, and then like revealing that, okay, wow, like they did some scrying, and these people are going to be important in the war, and these people are going to make the war more difficult for them. And then as soon as that was gone, he went back to an environment that we're more familiar with. It was not very, very efficient world building. And then he doesn't just do that, he also explores from the perspective of the princess. That was such a good perspective to explore the what they call them, the Larnark. Was it Larnark?
Lorna, I think,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah. He was very, very such. He used like he used the right people, and I get Valen is much, much loved. Right, Valen's perspective was still by far like the best. I love Riva's story. Yes, you're getting it. Like Valen's perspective was still my favorite, but it was not like in other books where I'm just like, oh, can this person's perspective just move on so I can get back to a POV that I like. Like Riva's storyline was so good. Like just like the brainwash, like all these characters are interest. Who like whose perspective like bored you. I didn't get bored reading anyone's perspective, because something was always happening. Like I always liked the princess. I liked how she thought, like her cold calculation, and then I got to see more of it, and just more from her perspective, and how she had developed from the first book. Frentis, of course, like Frentis has always been a badass, and like I love seeing his stuff. I love seeing River's perspective. Like I do not, I really, I get why people will be salty, because the first book is purely about Valen, but I actually did not mind like learning about other characters in the book. So I get why people like that. If you're going to compare Tower Lord with Tower Lord with Blood Song, I get why people are salty, or why people are like, this is a bit different. I don't know if I like it. But to intro to for as his intention was to build a world, and he built it, and like experiencing it with those, like would it have been as good if it was just Valen's perspective, like that we're getting from like all that stuff. Valen is already an established character, so he not only like did great world building, but he gave us like we the world was built with the right perspective. That was a
Yeah.
rant, but like I love this book, and Tony Ryan is like, yeah,
Yeah, I agree completely. And I also think what he did well, what you said, he chose a POV to tell a certain story, but he didn't tell anything twice. And that's sometimes when you have multiple POVs, you see the same thing happening from different perspectives, but that can sometimes be a little bit tedious and it's over the top. While here you had very different POVs. So
yes,
every time you switched, you got new information and not just the same thing chewed out by somebody else.
yes,
So I really liked all of the different POVs.
That's a good point about different perspectives, and everything was new, everything was different, and they were all in different parts of the world, so they were all experiencing different things. And coming from Bloodsong, I wouldn't have expected, but I didn't dislike Valen's POV, but it was probably my least favorite. I mean, because they were all good, but it was probably I didn't dislike it, but it was probably my least favorite POV,
No,
which
I can
surprised me.
totally see that. I can totally see that because Valen had already, as far as character development, Valen was older and wiser, and he was like everyone could tell why, like we already knew what Valen was about, and I did not see much character, like I didn't see his character being pushed too much. I feel like Valen's character, at least where he is right now, is established. He's like, we know who Villain is. We have no misconceptions about who he is as a character. And like introducing all these characters and having it still that interesting, because wow, like after the princess got her face burnt, like she just became so cool to me. Brother Fent is just like the way the progression of things, like it wasn't like a situation where she it was out of like his strong will that he broke out of it. The sequence of events from when he was enslaved by the woman to when he broke out made sense. It was such clean logic, like such a straight line, and like it every single part of it made sense. Like it's one thing reading a book, right, as like a reader, but like reading it as a writer, you're trying to always divine like what is the writer's intention, and I can his intentions are so clear. Like I feel like reading The Faithful on the Fallen right beside, okay, sorry, my bad, a book that shall not be named, like reading like a book that shall not be named right beside Blood Song, like I it's so beneficial for me.
Yeah, and I agree with what Brandy says here. So you have the different POVs, but you already know them a little bit from the first book. So you just want to know more. Because even in the first one, even from the small snippets that you got, I felt interested in them. And I think that that's something that Anthony Ryan does really well. He has these secondary characters, but he makes them interesting. And you want to know more about them. And then Riva, I think she was then the only really new character what you got a POV from, but her story arc for me was the most interesting.
Hmm.
And I think
Yes, yes.
some fantasy series they just throw everything at you. Like, look at all these people, and you care about them, right? And like, no, I don't, because but we care about these characters because the work and the foundation was built in Bloodsong. That work and that time was put in to start developing. So you already knew, I think all of them, but Riva. So all that work was put in, and the foundation was built. So then when we had these different POVs, it wasn't jarring, and we already knew these characters a little bit. So it was interesting. We got different perspectives, and there was no. It seems like some of these books try and skip that first step. Like you have to let's slow down. Like if you want to build this big, huge world, you can, but you have to. You can't just jump
It's
from
work.
step 1 to step
Yes,
10.
yes,
You have to
yes,
take your time, build it, and make us feel invested in the
yes,
characters in the world.
yes. Yes,
Yeah.
and I like how everything came together. Like when the scribe, the guy that was imprisoned by the general, when they're talking
Um,
about this queen that is just like like just thwarting him at every point, and like extending the amount of time that it's going to take them to like take over Cambril. And like, I had no idea it was, because after that then they switched to, I had no idea it was Riva.
yeah, same.
Like I was like, wait, is this Queen Riva? Is this Queen Riva? And then when I'm like, wow, what a badass, like what a badass way to put things together. I like the Anthony Rand's way of mixing first person and third person. It's the first time I'm seeing it, and it's just like, mwah, like wow.
Huh. That's funny. I didn't even notice that. I have to
Me
go
either.
back. So that means that it's well done, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. When I first started reading it, right, and it was in first person, I was like, do I like this? But I was like, well, Jolien said I should read it, so let's keep going, you know. And I'm so grateful you brought me as a part of this because I've learned so much just like reading this book.
Yeah, I'm just really glad that we're all liking it. And I think that Tower Lord, it takes a little bit of time to get into it, maybe, because you have those different POVs and it's not clear from the beginning where the story is going to go. And I think that some of the negative reviews that are circulating aren't really helping. Because some people already go in thinking, oh, it's a lot worse than Bloodsong, it's not going to be as good. And then if it doesn't really pick up in the beginning, I think that some people DNF it, while if they just wait a little bit, I think it's worthwhile.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of people. Yes, Venier's account is the first
Ah,
person
yes.
part. A lot of people, a lot of writers, what I see them doing is that they lean a lot into their strengths. So the writer of a book that shall not be named, like I feel like he's good at writing fighting scenes, and I see him just do that so much, like just like throwing fighting scenes everywhere, you know. And when you read Blood Song, you think, okay, this guy is a character-based writer, and that's what he's really, really good at. So let's stick with one. Let's let he like in if you read so Blood Song is a masterclass, right, in character development and making you care about a character and like a character story. Tower Lord is such good world building. It's a masterclass in world building. I can see why character development would be enjoyed more than world building. But if you're looking at this book in technical terms, right? Anthony Ryan, right, has shown so much diversity in his talent. He has shown like I can do character, I can do world building, and both are awesome. So I am like super, super hyped to see how he brings everything together in the last book.
Yeah. So it seems like we liked all POVs, I have the feeling, but what were your favorites?
I
It's
loved
difficult,
Riva.
eh?
Riva was like I love I loved Riva. I started liking the princess like much like after she had her face burnt. Like I said, I was just like, okay, this is such a grimdark character right there, you know. Like um yeah, like Riva, I liked Riva a lot. Like just the development, like coming from like just where she started from and where she ended from. I have no complaints. I also like Frentis.
Mhm.
I also like Frentis, but like I didn't like the fact that most of the time he was making decisions that were not his. But like the sequence of events were so clean, and like
I actually liked Frentis, and the fact that his decisions weren't his was I kind of enjoyed that because we had seen him come from where he came from and turn into this big badass, and then he was helpless, and he was this pawn, and who's this woman that's just controlling him every step of the way. Thought that was really that was probably my favorite POV, but Riva
yeah,
was a close. Riva's
yeah.
up there too.
Yeah. I think with Francis, I liked to see more of that dark power and that you got to see more there. Like, how old was she? She was going on for
Mm,
centuries at that point.
yeah.
And the mystique that you had in the beginning, I really liked that. Another thing was that you can't really predict anything that happens. Because even though she was saying the entire time, like, you're going to kill the king, I didn't really think that it was going to happen so quickly. Like all of a sudden he snapped his neck and I was sitting there like, oh, okay. And that's the difference between other stories where you can already predict what's going to happen, and with this one I have no idea what's going to happen in the third book.
The way it happened, I was like, I had to go back. I was like, wait, it was like he held the king's head, like looked at me in the eye, held the king's head, and turned. It was like it snapped,
Yeah.
like I was like, wait. I read that line again, read it again. I was like, wow, okay, let's go.
And the characters and do things that make sense. There's
Yes.
they evolve and they grow and they have an arc. They don't just kind of these wooden pieces that just go from point A to point B. I mean, there's everything makes sense that they do,
Yeah.
and whether it's good or bad. And
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen. I have no idea.
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
I didn't know what to expect. Really didn't know what to expect in this one, because if Bloodsong was the end of it, if it was just one book, I'd be like, well, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
But so like, where are we gonna go from there?
yeah,
So
yeah,
but
and
yeah,
and just how he opened the world, like if Bloodsong was unpredictable and Tower Lord was also unpredictable, just how he opened the world and how it ended and everything, like there's so much more that could happen, you know. Like
Yeah.
wow, and I'm really interested in that prophecy. The prophecy says Valen and the Fire Queen. I'm assuming that's that, like they're gonna like do some amazing stuff together.
Yeah, I'm actually wondering because at the end you have the princess and somebody like burns her. I don't know what happened there. It's really at the end of the book, but I don't know who that person is.
The person that burnt the princess.
Th- that's in halfway through the book, right? But at the end, she's like in the woods or something like that, and then somebody comes close and he
she
touches her,
yeah, like holds her, and she, I
and
think
then
it's
the
the
world
last
burns
page.
or something like that.
Yeah,
Hmm.
let me see.
Yeah,
Yeah, Bailey,
yeah,
I agree. Yeah,
yeah. The
and
world build. Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
what I love, like Epic said, you have such an interesting world, and Anthony Ryan shows that he can do that as well. But what I liked here is that he also kept some of the character development with Riva, for example, where all of the characters are pretty established, but then he picks one and he really shows a character
Builds.
growth and a real arc, and that makes like the balance between the two interesting to follow.
Yeah, and there's something, right? Like sometimes when I'm reading a book and it's like a female perspective, I usually really feel like I feel like the women in the book are just token characters. It's just like, well, we live in this age and like we need to have women, and like I didn't get that feeling at all. Like the women in this book are like really important. Like they make really important decisions. They are badass too. They are really badass. And like I never get that feeling of,
Like
okay, wow,
helplessness. Yeah,
like helplessness, or like these are actual, like, this is how like a female like character, like this is how like like if I wanted to write a badass female character, this is how I'll do it, you know.
Yeah, and I don't like when you don't have that. You have like a really helpless female character, and then the author or readers defend it by saying, yeah, but it's based on medieval times. And I'm thinking, well, it's fantasy. You can basically do whatever. So that's a pretty lousy excuse to use.
It's a lousy excuse, to be
yeah, it is a
honest,
lousy
like.
excuse.
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if she died, being the series what it is, but since the last title is Queen of Fire, I'm thinking that's her, so that she might have some magical powers
Yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah. I don't think Anthony Ryan is quite done with her. I don't think
Yeah,
Anthony Ryan is done with her. Like I feel like maybe like and I feel like in the next book, like whatever happened at the end would be like would figure it out within the first couple of chapters, you know. So I do not I feel like yeah, yeah. And like it's called like the Fire Queen, right? The Queen of Fire, yeah.
Yeah,
So
Queen of Fire.
like yeah, like maybe that's like a hint, Thank God the book is out already. We don't have to wait. If I had to
Yeah,
wait for book 3, I would be so pissed.
it would be difficult. I actually wanted to start right away, but
Yeah,
yeah, I wanted to wait until this discussion before I started Queen of Fire.
yeah.
But it was a really good ending to make you want to read more.
Yes,
yeah,
yes, yeah. Hmm. I feel like there was less action, like just like plain like fighting scenes or in this book, but like I don't have a problem with that. um
yeah.
initially I would have I feel like initially before I read a book that shall not be named, like if you asked me like if you asked me um like just and my first thought would be, yo, the more action the better. But there's a story, like it shouldn't be used to like mask. It shouldn't be used to make up for the shortcomings of a story. You know, it's more about what is happening that is interesting. And
Yeah.
this book, like the way this book builds up to like a Venice account where he was like that ended with villain sending the general a message saying like, oh, like if you can think, but like I'll spare your men, but like
No,
your
yeah.
sins are too much, man, like you're done. Like that is basically not giving him an option. That's just basic. Like that, you see that kind of build up, that build up was just, you know
Mhm.
Yeah.
yes. Yes.
I
Yeah.
liked the representation here, and that's something I sometimes have an issue with it as well, because some authors make me feel like they are ticking off boxes. Like, oh, I
Yes.
need to have this and I need to have this. And with this book, I never felt that way.
Yes.
So I loved the decision that Anthony Ryan made with that.
Yeah. Like, and I like the way he revealed Vanessa's sexuality as well. Like that woman thinking she's so pretty, and he lied that he had this poet lover, and then like at some point, my guy stopped giving a shit. He was like, "Yo, I didn't have a poet lover. Like, it was a dude I was in love with, actually."
Yeah.
I liked that. I really did. I really did. And like the mystery, like the mystery surrounding the antagonist just makes him seem so much more badass. You know, like I'm sorry to compare it to a book that shall not be named, but like, come on, like look at the difference. Look at the difference. Like when we don't get that point of view, when we don't get that point of view too much, and we are only hearing about how evil and how powerful he is, like that sense of mystery. You cannot just like it's important that when I'm writing my book, like I'm not going to have the POV of the villain except it's absolutely necessary. You know, I'm going to like, because I feel like that, like now I'm just like, wow, I can't wait for like a battle. I want to see, because Valen's blood song, Valen is very powerful. I like how the blood song, like I know some people complained about how like the magic system isn't like well explained, but like it's fine. Like it's I don't really have a problem with it. The soft magic system, whatever, we kind of know how it works. It doesn't
Yeah.
need to be too like it doesn't need to make logical step by step scientific sense. It is like I understand it enough that like it makes sense. Villains How villain uses it makes sense. And I like how like it's not always like to the T correct. Remember when like villain was in the tower, he thought that guy came to assassinate him because the blood song was warning him, and then like he dodged last moment, like a bolt passed him and struck the ground, and he was like, oh, the blood song wasn't warning him about this, it was about something else.
Yeah.
I like just like little things like that in the book, that it just like it's not all powerful. And Valen has like it's not although it's always pushes Valen in the direction that like I feel like he should intuitively he should move towards. Like Valen doesn't always, at least he learned from the first book, but in the first book he didn't always listen to it. you know so it's like I really don't have any problems with this book. Like I
No.
get it might not be everyone's cup of tea, but like wow, just this is a masterclass.
Yeah, well, the thing with the flute, that it's gone, and then that the last book is called Queen of Fire. I don't know if Valen is going to be maybe taking a little bit more of a backseat, even more than in the second book, and it might be a little bit more about Lerna. I don't know, but I'm fine with it either way, because at this point I'm trusting Anthony Ryan to just make a really good conclusion of the story.
Like,
Yeah.
But yeah,
no, yeah, yeah, talk. I feel like I'm talking too much.
go ahead. But what you said about magic systems, I completely agree, and I also think I haven't been reading fantasy for a long while, but magic system, that term, I feel like it's used more since Brandon Sanderson, and because he uses a very hard magic system. Fantasy doesn't really need to have a system. It just needs to have magic and fantastical elements. And a lot of people then say like, oh well, but it's not well defined. But if you look at older fantasy books, it's often not well defined. It's something that's been done quite recently, and it doesn't really always need to be like that. And I like in this one, you have limitations. He can't use it too much because he will literally die from it. So as long as you have that, as long as not anything can happen, I'm fine with not knowing it completely, because then it turns into almost sci-fi or some sort of science, and it's not completely fantasy for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
I don't want him to be a superhero. You know.
yeah, 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 and like I actually love. I think it's the right decision to take the blood song away because, I feel like Villain. So when Villain was developing as a character, and we didn't quite know what the blood song was. Like now, it's like his decisions, like where we will question them. Oh, is that the right decision? Oh wow, like what consequences would he face? But then in book two, because like for the most part when Valen was there, he was relying on the blood song like almost like it was a limb. He was like, you wait for the blood song. Okay, the blood song wasn't too loud. Okay, that means this decision doesn't matter. Okay, wow, the blood song is saying I should move in this direction. So without having to really think through decisions, he was just like going with wherever the blood song led him. But I feel like taking away the blood song in at the end of this book just means that in part, in the third book, like he's going to make decisions that we're going to question. He's going to make decisions that like some decisions we probably might not like, and he's going to have to rely on his instinct, on his instinct and his experience and everything else, you know. So because I feel like the way Valen was in this book, and it's well justified, so I don't have a problem with it. But there was an exalted like kind of exalted kind of like impression of him, like, oh, villain Alsona, oh, the dark blade, you know, like and then with the blood song. But in in the book three, he's just going to be more human, and I feel like there's going to be more focus on him, and his POV is going to be bigger because the blood song is no longer there. And if it does come back, then it's probably going to be like an epic kind of or the blood song comes back and like he's even like on another level.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. That now he needs to learn how to live without it. Yeah,
Yes.
that will be interesting to follow. Hi, Safina.
Hey, Sophia.
Yeah, I'm feeling better. Thank you for asking. That's really nice.
And we talked a little bit. Hey, John.
John.
We talked a little bit about the combat really quickly, but I think I like that there wasn't a ton of combat, but when there was, you felt the impact of it because there's not a lot of it. It wasn't just plodding along and ooh, look, shiny swords and people are fighting. It made sense, and it wasn't just fighting for fighting's sake. I mean, there was build up, and then when it did happen, it was serious. People died. You know, you felt it. It wasn't just
Yeah.
pointy sticks. Ooh, look over here. You know. So
It's especially that it had consequences. You knew
Yeah.
that if a battle was going to happen, you felt scared for your characters because anything could happen.
yeah.
And that's what you need. If a battle is just there for the sake of a battle, you can
Yeah.
lose it basically.
Yeah. Skip.
Let me ask you, what was the most grim dark moment for you in
Ah, that's difficult.
The neck. I think
the neck?
that
For
caught
me,
me
it
by
was,
surprise.
Yeah.
for me it was because the princess knowing, because in book one they're always talking about how beautiful she is. Book two, oh, she's even more beautiful, and having her face burnt, I was like, yes.
Yeah, I think that entire part, and in general, just Frantis and his story arc and what he needed to do. I think that's one of the worst things when somebody is in control of your body, and that's
Yeah,
something that I think was done quite well in the series that shall not be named. But here it was executed a little bit better. But that was one of the positive things in that one. So I liked it here, and the dark turns that it took while, for instance, when Francis wasn't really doing what the woman wanted and she was angry, she made him kill more slowly to punish him as well.
yes, yes,
And
yes.
yeah,
Yeah, I you know, wow, I was like, yo, man, like, I don't really mind it. Like, I don't mind like children dying in like books, like it's not real and everything. Like I can put my mind in that space, but every time like he made a decision like wow, he was about to kill a child, my heart dropped. My heart dropped. I was like, no, man, French is no, and yeah, like but everything Kai, yo, man, like
Same.
Grimdark is I love it. Like, let me ask you guys a question. I still consider myself new to Grimdark. Um, are there any Grimdark tropes? Because I feel like that is what Grimdark is. Like, just moments like
Hmm.
that where he snaps a neck, like you don't, and all, and it just like the plot is going this way, and it just goes like that. Are they Grimdark tropes that that um you've come to like point out and then like being able to predict, or is that like a consistent grimdark um thing of like unpredictability?
It's a good question.
Because
I
so far I can't see any grimdark tropes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm also quite new to Grimdark, to be honest. But I think that's one of the things why I like it because
Yes.
it takes things and then it makes something completely unique. So you can't really predict what's going to happen. And I think if you can, then it's not really the best Grimdark out there, and it should be executed better.
Hmm.
Because in general, from what I've read until this point, it's always so unique, and you can't
Yeah.
predict what's going to happen.
Yeah, because I mean, like, true, when I'm reading Grim Dark, like, I'm on edge, especially when it's good, and that's why I want to read Beyond Redemption. And I was wrong; it wasn't Tad Williams they were saying was the god; it was Baker, but
Hmm.
was the god of Grim Dark, but Baker. I want to read Beyond Redemption because, like, yes, like I want to see. They say that's one of like the grimmest,
It is so cool.
Yeah,
It
it's
is
so
super
so.
cool,
cool.
eh? Hmm,
It is
hmm,
really.
I
I
think you're
mean,
going to like it.
hmm.
it is so different than anything I've read.
Yeah.
It is so
Wow,
different,
wow.
and we're not very far into. Well, I'm not very far into the second one, but it is just kind of opening the world up a little bit more, and it's
Hmm.
just but when you read those books, you feel like you're crawling into a dark closet. Like you can feel it, like it.
Like,
you feel it, but there's humor mixed in, so it's
yeah.
not all dark. I mean, there is some pretty funny moments, and the characters are interesting. They have some nice interactions, some funny interactions. So it's not all dark. You need that a little bit to mix things up. You can't have everything just doom and gloom. But I
Yeah.
think some people that, and I don't necessarily agree with them, but I think some people may say the trope of grimdark is maybe like narcissism or, um, I
Yeah.
think some people that is grimdark just isn't for them. I think they point to things like that. I don't agree with that, but I think some people it can turn them off on like the unpredictability, the dark, there's deaths, so I think some people just don't like those kind of stories. I think they just like the safer, predictable, and it's like that's fine. They can, good for them. But
Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, let me tell you something. I was like in a really bad before I joined BookTube. I was in a really bad book slump, and that's because like I would read a book and I'm like, okay, nothing can was gonna happen to this character, and like, okay, like I already know this, but like when I read Grim Dark, like I'm like, oh shit, is this kid going to die right now? Like, oh my god, like that kid that constantly being on edge is why I love Grimdark so much. I'm like I'm reading faster than my brain can understand what I'm reading because I'm like, okay, what is going to happen next? What is going to happen next?
yeah,
And I don't know, like the unpredictability of Grimdark, if can that be considered a trope? Because like technically tropes is like what do you see happen so often, you
yeah.
know?
I mean, it's tropes are predictable, right? I mean,
Yeah,
isn't that
yeah,
kind of
tropes
what
are
a trope
what
is?
exactly are predictable, but like, and that's the thing with Grimdark. You see, like he didn't necessarily kill the child. He didn't kill the child, and I'm like, okay, because
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was a possibility.
yeah,
But like in some other books, I'm like, okay, like let the hero come already and like save this kid, or something. I'm like, oh, maybe he's going to defeat this ancient magic with the power of love or something. But like. It's like, like, yeah, yeah, and there's nothing wrong. Love, I'm all about love, love everyone, love, but like, you get what I mean. Like, the power of love is, yeah, is
Yeah,
love.
yeah,
It's not like, yeah,
But yeah, I can see that maybe it still needs to be unpredictable.
mm,
If
yes,
um, if always the bad thing happens, you start predicting that as well. So I think it's also
it's a
difficult for a
balance.
grimdark author to have that tension and to make you want the good thing to happen, but then the bad thing happens instead.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
not make you expect it beforehand. Like, oh yeah, he's going to die because it's grimdark.
Hmm.
would you both consider this series to be grimdark so far?
I've read darker stuff. I'll
Yeah.
say that. I've read darker stuff. I consider it grim dark because of the tone, because of the consistent tone, and the fact that the characters are not necessarily good. They are doing what they have to do,
Yeah.
and like I feel like that is something that separates dark fantasy from grimdark. In a dark fantasy book, you still have good characters, but the world is dark. But in grimdark, the characters, at least I've heard people describe grimdark in so many different ways before,
Hmm.
but for me, what makes me like point to something as grimdark is it has to do with like the attitude of the protagonist in that grim world. So like maybe they have good intentions, but like their actions and like how they interact, how they kind of work with the world. They're not working against it, they are working with the world, they are balancing working, if they have any good in them, they are balancing being like good people with how the world works. So they are not like goody two shoes. So for me, they are more relatable.
Yeah.
Yeah. I must say, if, for instance, First Law is grimdark, then this is also grimdark. For
Uh,
Yeah,
for me,
yeah, for me
it's
as well.
First Law is then for me even a little bit lighter maybe than this
It's
one.
lighter, yeah, yeah,
But if
yeah.
you compare this to, for instance, Beyond Redemption, I think that those characters are a lot less likable than these. Here you have characters that you can root for and that you like, even though they are not, very good. While Beyond Redemption, it's very hard to find redeemable qualities, in my
Yeah.
opinion. For instance, I think King of Prince of Thorns. I haven't read that one by Mark Lawrence, but you basically follow a rapist. It's a different kind of grimdark than what you're reading here.
I'll say one thing with Prince of Thorns. I understand why they say Prince of Thorns is a gateway grimdark novel, and like it is not like um they make I feel like the writing style takes getting used to. The prose is not the cleanest, but you have to get used to it. But after you reach a certain point in the book, then like you're just reading fluently. And like the main character's evil, like I didn't even perceive him as being evil anymore. I perceived it as comical. Like it's like, oh, this guy is such a bad guy, and then this is how evil he is. Okay, and then he does something that tops it. We're like, wow, wow, so he's this evil, and then he does something that tops. It's like he's always like, you like, is how evil can this guy? By the end of the book, you're just like, nothing surprises you anymore, you know. But like, I still like, you still find yourself rooting for the character because he has like some really badass moments where he's just not taking shit from anyone, and it's like, wow, I think this person, you should take shit from him because he's Dane. But like, York does not give a shit, like So, and there was this thing, there was a constant theme about thing where you're like thinking, okay, this character is too lucky for a grimdark novel, but at the end it gets explained. But let me not spoil it for you. But like, yeah, it's a much light, like, I don't know, like, it's the main character is a lot darker, and like he's evil, he's just plain evil. But like, I don't know why like Prince of Thorns still kinds of feels like a lot lighter than like the first law, or um like Blood Song.
Yeah,
And
I
yeah.
think, for instance, in this one, because you asked about grimdark moments, but I just thought about one, and I think this hits home because it feels so realistic. You have um, the singer, I think. I don't know how you pronounce his name, Janril. And in the beginning, Valen meets him, and he has a wife, and he's like performing at a fair, and his wife is dancing, and he's like making music, and he's like happy. He's glad his wife is pregnant, all of those stuff. And then afterwards, Francis finds him, and his wife was murdered by the Valerians,
Ah,
and he's just he became an animal basically.
yeah, the music is gone out of him. Wow.
Yeah,
Like
that's
that is
hard.
like yes, yes, yes. Like you see, it's like I don't like wow, like I hate to do this again. The book that shall not be named. This guy jumps on a. This guy does a flying like CGI move in a book, fine. But then the enemy is like cheering him on. Like what the fuck? Like what are you do? Like why? You know, like that. That is not happening. But like this, like. And I feel like I might one of the reasons I enjoyed the Raven trilogy so much might because I'm reading it right after like The Faithful and the Fallen,
Yeah.
you know. And I'm definitely going to read it to reread these books like because I want to study, I'm going to take time studying his prose because and like there's something so efficient about it that I love. Like I don't there are some writers where I'm just like I can just skip like a sentence or like two sentences, just skip like two bars, you know, two lines because it's just like get on already, you know. But then he just keeps it like keeps things flowing in such a like I get lost in it. It's not difficult to just flow with it, you know.
It's his second book. This is his second book.
It's unbelievable.
Blows
I
my
put
mind.
everything of him on my wish list.
Me too.
Mhm.
So did I.
Apparently he does. I know this is just like this is a trilogy, but he does a couple more stuff in this world. Are you guys going to be reading those books?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I probably will. I probably will. I might not get to it as quickly, but I probably will because maybe like because wow, like this world is so like just think about like I love the way magic is used. I like how everyone has different gifts. You know, every gift has a consequence, and there's just something so like there's something about these books that I just like his balance he's balancing so many things at the same time and it's so done so well, you know, like it's such a good book, such a good book.
Were there any favorite scenes that you guys had? There were a lot, but
Yeah,
I
there's a
like
few.
I have yeah, I have a lot actually. I have a lot. I like the scene where the breakneck scene, like the everything that happens in that like everything that happens in that space. I loved it. I loved it. Like Front is finally like gaining thing and like you know he always said like he was going to kill her and yeah he did, you know, he put the knife through her and like I like that scene, I like that whole like how the princess getting burnt, the fact that you know like and just like paying off things like you know when the head of the Larnax told her, "Oh, you know when to use this blade," and how like just how everything happened. You know, Frentis getting control, like everything was just nice. You know, and yeah, like I also love the way like he writes his battle scenes. I really liked his battle scenes a lot because like they meant something. You know, like there was a build up to it, and it was like, okay, this is such a yes, yes. Those the way she used those sharks, you know, when they were threatening not to let them on the boat, and you know, just like yeah, I loved a lot of scenes in the book.
The slave ship was cool too.
The
Um,
slave ship was good, yeah.
and when Francis is basically begging the woman, like, we'll go run away together. Let's you don't have to, you know. I love that he was so helpless with her. He just didn't have any
yeah.
control.
And that she was completely mental because she wanted to marry him, have children with him, and I was like, oh, okay, that's very weird that you're using him like that, but
Wow.
I so I have a question for you guys now that we're it just coming. So I forget her name. The the woman that was with the Reva's brother, right? The king
Yeah.
before he got his neck snapped. that woman is the same woman from Bloodsong, right? That um
Is it?
that Valen tells her to leave because she was the spy, the redheaded woman in Bloodsong, and he tells her because she was a spy,
Oh,
and the king leaves them together, and she says, "Oh well, she's like happy, and he's like, you need to leave because he wants me to kill you, so like
I
run
love
Oh,
away."
that.
yes,
I
yes,
love that
yes,
scene
yes.
so much. I
Yeah,
love that scene so much. Like, I just realized that. I just realized that. Wow, I just realized that.
so I'm not sure if it is, but the way that he describes them, like the red hair,
Yeah,
she's like a bosomy
Ooh, that
woman.
would be nice. I need
yeah,
to
So
look that up.
I wasn't sure if that was the same because Brandy and I were talking about it because we were both asking each other, is that the same
same
person?
person.
Because they're described the same.
Yeah, they were described as. Yeah, they were. They were actually. I didn't think I was gonna see her again, but like, well, now that you say it, But like
Yeah,
back to that scene, I love the scene because she thought like when Janice and Valen were talking, she thought, "Oh, I'm Janice's spy, and like Valen is the one out of the loop, and we have to show him
yeah.
how things are done." And then Janice just talks, 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 and leaves the room, and Valen is just like, "Yo, he just basically told me to kill you." And then she's like, "Wow," I love that scene so much. But
Because
yeah,
I think she says something like she had to leave because of complications. She never really says why she left
yeah,
for home. So I think that I think that's the same person. I'm not sure.
yeah, yeah. I'll probably check it after this to find out. But like,
Yeah,
yeah,
that would be nice because Valen needs to die for the one who waits his plan to succeed. Because he's really very clearly a pie that does a lot in the story. So it would be nice that his decision to not kill her in the first book has a
pays
lot
off
of
somehow.
consequences in the
Yeah,
second. Because if she
yeah,
wasn't there, I don't know if Riva would have made the same decisions.
Yeah, I
yeah,
don't think so.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And like, what the blood song was quiet on that decision, right? Like when he let her go, the blood song was quiet, right? Because I
I
remember when
I
the
remember
blood
that.
song, yeah, I think the blood song was quiet because I remember like the blood song was told Valen to kill Janice, and Valen didn't refuse to do it. And I remember that was the last time, and Valen spoke about it, was the last time that the blood song spoke to him in a long time before he met the other person with the abilities. So it's yeah, I'm pretty sure the blood song was quiet in that decision to let her go, and to watch it pay off like that. I feel like we're gonna get like a couple of decisions like that in book three, because the blood song is not going to be like it's not going to be as available as it was in the Tower Lord.
yeah.
Do you have any predictions for the third one? Because, for instance, we also have Francis, who is with Solace at the moment, I think. So I'm hoping that he goes to the city as well, and that they have a meetup. But I don't know what will happen after that.
I'm gonna say that I'm gonna predict. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm just gonna throw it out there that Valen won't make it through.
Wow, wow, you just threw that in right like that.
I don't know. I have no idea. I might be totally
Mhm.
wrong. I just get the feeling like something's gonna happen.
So far, I'm not even trying to predict this book because I'll be wrong every time. But my only prediction is that I'm going to enjoy it. I know I'm going to enjoy it. However it goes, like Anthony Ryan has my trust as a writer.
Yeah, same. Now I must say I'm also on the fence whether or not Valen is going to live, but that's one of the reasons that for instance, I was looking if his other series take place in the same world, but I didn't want to read the premise because if it's that like after Valen's death, well, yeah, okay, now we know. So I'm waiting until I read Queen of Fire to see if the other books take place in the same world because you have a couple of short stories, but you also have a duology, I think, and I think that the word blood is in the title. So I'm having strong feelings that it's in the same world a couple of years afterwards, maybe, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, yeah. I'm looking forward to, yes, I would like to conclude this trilogy and then like really dive into like just so like I might not have said this after I read Blood Song, but after I read Tower Lord, I would like to like really dive into the world after like the story is concluded, just to, oh, okay, this is what is happening here, or this is what happened after, just cause like yeah, like I'd like the world itself is interesting, and that is something that I feel like some writers fail to do. Like they 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 are not able to create this sense that, okay, apart from what I'm showing you here, other stuff is happening in different places. But like the way like we have interesting characters with interesting povs, and just the intensity of what is happening, like in from their different perspectives, like even though you're enjoying this pov, the next time another pov comes back, you're excited to like pick up from where you left off.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was going to bring this up. I wasn't sure because I know both of you guys are probably. I'm slammed too, but I don't know if after we finish this trilogy, if you want to take a couple months off and then start the rest of the books, let me know.
I want to start it, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm down.
We'll take a
We'll
break.
take a couple months, and yeah, maybe after we read a couple bad books, and then yeah, to
And then
like
we run.
to come back again and be like, wow, okay, you know. But
Hmm.
Maybe
yeah, yeah, I'm down.
maybe January, February, or something.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah, that
down.
sounds
I'm
good.
down for sure. Down for sure.
Cool.
I can ask them for Christmas, so perfect timing.
Yeah. I almost bought them the other day.
Yeah.
I had them in my cart. And I was like, I have too many books to read. I have to stop this. It's gonna be months. I'll buy them later. But I had him. I was ready to buy all of his books.
The last time I counted my TBR, I have like close to 200 books there. Like I'm not even trying to like I'm not even trying to like add to that right now. But I've already added it mentally, which is usually more like significant for me, because like I'm a mood reader. Like I'm not going to read a book just cause it's on my TBR. You know,
Hmm.
it's how I feel. Page
Um,
four forty
yeah.
five.
She found it.
So let's see.
Hmm.
So she says, "How long have you been? How long have you been? How long have you been with him?" Riva asks Velis. She says, "We met years ago in Varenshold, if that's how I pronounce it. When he was a guest of the king's court, he was a regular and generous customer, so I was sad to see him called back to sit in the chair. A couple of years later, when I had a pressing reason to leave Varenshold, I thought I might find it welcome here, or at least enough coin for passage to foreign cities or climes."
Hmm.
So that's where she was really cagey about how she ended up there, where she came from.
It's
I,
probably
I,
her.
yeah, I think that's her. I'm not positive though,
Yeah,
but
like I don't think Anthony Ryan would let her live like that, especially like that, if he didn't have like a purpose for her.
Hmm. Yeah, probably.
Hmm.
Anthony Ryan would not do that.
Now we are divining his intentions now
Yeah,
on two
but
books.
it is amazing though, because I mean, I know, writers, they start their careers and a lot of them improve over time, and it's a process. But there's very few that write something like Blood Song. I don't know how they do it. I don't know if it's talent or luck, or I don't know what happens, but it is amazing that Blood Song is his first book. It just blows my
Hmm.
mind.
So
Yeah,
Blood Song
so
is his first book, right?
I think so.
pretty
I
sure, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. He set the bar high, man. Cradle of Chaos, we're coming, man. Like, damn it. But like, yeah. Yo, why couldn't Brandy make it today?
Oh, she was in Philomel, and my dog has a hernia.
Oh,
My
Oh,
okay.
my pug bulldog, so she has to take him to the vet.
Oh, okay.
So I think she's there now on her phone chatting.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay.
He had a
I hope.
little lump in his belly, and we weren't sure what it was, but it turns out it was a hernia.
Wow.
So to
Wow.
take him
Okay.
in,
Okay.
a little fatso.
Yeah. But she's gonna come for the next one, right?
Yeah.
No, that'll be welcome. I'll be very
Hmm.
welcome. Like,
Yeah.
wow.
At this point, my hopes are high because with Bloodsong, I thought maybe he's a one-hit wonder, and it's especially after the reviews. But it's two in a row for me, so the third one is going to be good.
Yeah, I
And
know. Some people were really like, the book two is not as good. Book two is not as good, and I get why they say that because book one was very good for a specific reason, but book two I feel is just as good, just for a different reason.
great.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of the First Law trilogy, the way it went from really character focused and very little plot to, and Bloodsong had plot, but just the way that it changed, from very character to plot in first and second books, kind of reminded me of that. And I think something I have to remind myself too is that it's a trilogy, so it's not all going to be explained. There has to be some build up. That's be paid.
So,
These things develop.
so something I didn't like, and like the fact that you brought that, and I want to see how Anthony Ryan handles it. But something I didn't like about the first law, about the last book of the first law, is because I felt like, and I'm not saying this is what happened. I'm just saying like this is kind of how it felt like. But for me, it felt like he started writing the last argument of Kings, and then he was like, okay, wow, like I have to tie all these loose ends together, and he just like became like just started like tying them up like
In a big knot.
in such a big messy knot, which I kind of like. I'm just like, okay, it's a deviation. I could feel the deviation from like being like a book that's very character focused to like to something that is like trying to like connect dots and like make sense. And I felt like I really loved the first law, but I felt like he could have done better. But I forgive him because it's his first book, and he might not have conceived at the time that he was going to write more books, because I don't think he could have predicted how popular it became. But I really want to see how Anthony Ryan, because there's a lot to tie off as well, and I want to see how he pulls that off, because I would say his books are character based as well. I cannot see like the sequence of while the sequence of events makes sense, I cannot see like I can't see like a plot, I'm just like engrossed in the characters and everything. So yeah, I want to see how he handles that.
Mhm.
Good luck, Brandy. I hope it's something that's easily fixable.
Yeah,
And you in the next one.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest surprises in this book, and I'm now a little bit worried when I read something else, is that you have amazing secondary characters. And that's often you have the main characters, and then you have maybe a couple of close friends, and that's it.
Hmm.
And in some books, all the characters that you meet have their own POV. So then it's even more the feeling that nobody else is living here besides these few that we follow. But
Mhm.
in these books, you have secondary characters. You have just characters that maybe are mentioned for a couple of chapters, and that's it. But their encounters mean something. Even though they're just somebody walking by, or they might die after a couple of pages, even. But it feels like the world is filled with other people as well.
Yes,
And
yes.
that's something that's now I'm wondering if other books have that as well, or that's something that's quite unique in this one.
No, it's definitely something that's unique. Definitely something that's unique. In scenarios and that's what I was saying. Like I did not if there was a book, a separate book, a breakaway book that was just only Frentis, I would read it. If there was a separate book that was only Riva, I would read it. If it was a separate book, just the I would read it.
Mhm.
Because it is and I cannot think of a lot of books that I read and there are characters where I'm just like, oh my god, is this guy's POV again? I did not get that feeling at all when I was reading this one.
Mhm.
I did not get that feeling at all. I just enjoyed the story. So I feel like the secondary characters, right? Like within their arcs, they are the primary characters. It's only when we come and we're talking about okay, Valen, it's only when we're like, okay, now it's Valen, like the main protagonist. Then in context to the other characters, it's like, okay, um, what is happening now? But the secondary characters within their arcs, they were like they were not, they didn't feel like secondary characters. They felt like they didn't feel like they were just there because, okay, Anthony Ryan decided, well, I want him to have four companions, you know. Like they felt like, okay, these are characters with their own stories, with their own perspectives, with their own character journey and character like development and establishment to experience. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I'm also wondering what Vernier is going to do because I think that in the third book he will also be the one who like ties together the certain chapters and that you have small paragraphs of him.
Hmm.
But I'm wondering where he will be in that book.
Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
And
Same.
that's one of the things. He's such a small character. You only have him for a couple of pages in the entire book, but still he's interesting.
Yeah.
But he's not just so very impactful too. Like his chapters, his first person thing is so short, but then I like how he's used to like tie the story together. And like it's interesting, very interesting because he is like a scribe,
Hmm.
in the book. So it's like he's tying the story together in a way that is just so uh, no, like from a writer's perspective, right? What Anthony Ryan is doing is just like mind blowing. Like maybe I need to read more books and maybe it's not that special, but I've already read a lot of books and like this is the first time I'm seeing something being pulled off like that.
Yeah.
So, what would your overall rating be? You know
Five
that I'm very bad with stars, but five?
5 star. For me, like for me it's a 5 star.
I always hate going half stars, but I think I'm gonna go 4.5.
Yeah.
That's high praise,
Almost
I
there.
think,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Almost. I mean,
that
it's
that
right
that's
there.
really high for you.
Yeah.
That's really high for you. And yeah, like for me, I would rate it 4.5, but like I don't know how someone can make me like so many characters with how many POVs and like I really cared about each and every one of them. I would say I enjoyed Bloodsong more, kinda, but like I enjoyed Bloodsong more as a reader, but like as a writer, like seeing what he's doing in
Hmm.
Tower Lord, that's a 5 star.
Yeah, I think I would also go for 5 stars. And Bloodsong I like maybe a little bit more, but that's just also because I like that coming of age story. And you have that here with Riva as well. But with Valen and really following him through the entire book, that's just something that I personally like. But for me to like multiple POVs, and that in a second book, I think that's very difficult. Because, for instance, I read Red Rising, and you have the entire trilogy in one POV. And then the secondary trilogy, it's all of a sudden multiple POVs, and that didn't work for me because I
Hmm.
was only interested in the original one.
Mm,
Everybody else couldn't care less. So I could see there how difficult it was to make me invested then in new characters or in new POVs. So that he could pull this off here, I think that's even more difficult than just starting a new trilogy with multiple POVs and the reader doesn't know anyone and he doesn't have a favorite when he goes in. Here, you immediately are drawn towards Valen. So in the beginning, you might be a little bit disappointed when you go to someone else because I want to stay with Valen. But
Yeah.
that changes pretty quickly. And I think that's very difficult to do.
that is so difficult to do. To like, Valen is such a liked character, such a like to do what he did with Valen in the first book, like make us just so invest, and then like to not put attention. Like the reason Bloodsong is a good book is because of the character of Valen, but then to not even like hold that in reverence, like to not like center the book around what initially drew everyone to it and still pull it off. Wow.
That is a. It does take some nerve though to do
Some
that.
nerve.
To go from a book that I'm not sure how it was received when it was released or what the reaction was, but I would imagine it to have one POV and then to veer off and go into multiple POVs. That's got to be a little nerve wracking.
Yeah.
I would think for a writer, but he pulls it off. I mean,
Yeah, I would compare
yeah,
that to like when you start like a TV show with like one character and like I don't know, maybe the character dies off or like contract stuff doesn't work, and then they bring a new character and which is trying to play the old character, but like it's a different face and it just feels wrong. But like he pulls it off. Now kind of compare it to that, but like he pulls it off because those characters were really good. And like the what he did with the secondary characters, not giving them POVs in book one, but you still get a very strong sense of who they are, like the princess and like Frentis, and then like going into their POVs, like such a smooth transition.
Yeah.
I was just looking up the Goodreads scores, and to be honest, Tower Lord is still getting 4.17,
Oh wow.
which is quite high.
Good. Yeah.
Now, of course, it's a second book, so maybe only the people who really enjoy Bloodsong go further. So I'm guessing that it has less ratings than Bloodsong, but still, it's pretty high. So I'm feeling that maybe the BookTube community doesn't really like Tower Lord that much, but in general, it's well received.
Yeah, man, I don't really care what the booktube community likes, man. Like, I don't really care. Like, if a book is very popular in booktube community, like, I'm learning to be very careful now. Like, I know, like, I'm like, I don't know, like, you know. So, yeah, like, the booktube doesn't like Blood Song, then, like, yo, man, like, then it's fine. Like,
I have a hard
you can
time.
like what you like.
I have a hard
Yeah.
time seeing anyone not like Bloodsong. I mean,
Yes, I know. Like, what do you like in books if you don't
I
like
mean,
Blood Song?
it has
Well,
everything in it.
Bloodsong is even higher. It has 4.38,
Of
so
course.
and more ratings,
Hmm.
almost 80,000, and then Tower
Wow.
Lord 40,000. So it's half.
Wow. Wow.
Queen of
This needs to
Fire is
be.
3.69, so that's a little bit less.
I may as well like it.
Yeah, we're going to love it.
I don't know if this needs to be adapted by Netflix or HBO or somebody
Oh
needs to
my
get
God.
this and adapt. It'd be perfect.
That'd be so good. That'd be so good. Wow.
Somebody
I'd
needs to
really
adapt
enjoy
this.
that. Yeah.
It's
Uh,
perfect for it.
Yeah, it's one of those things like Lord of the Rings. It's getting a TV series, and I'm excited for that. But sometimes it feels like they keep grabbing the same thing
Yeah.
that's super popular and it's been done before, and I don't know how you can top the movies, to be honest, at this point. And there's so
Yeah.
much new stuff that's underhyped that they could also adapt.
you know something
Yeah.
like adapting stuff to screen is very different because
Yeah.
there's a whole so if the whole like idea of like the hero's journey, like step by step farm boy, like if you here Faithful and the Fallen, book that shall not be named, is basically like the hero's journey, right, but replicated over and over and over again. That's why it's so predictable to us. Like the way like movies are usually made with that kind of strict pattern. So like when something like a blood song that doesn't necessarily follow that pattern is was submitted to them, like movie producers are not quite sure what to do with it.
Yeah.
You
Feeling a
know,
safe
then
bet, probably.
yes, it's not like they have a tried formula. Like Star Wars has the hero's journey as well, like successful. Game of Thrones might have, it might be what kind of changed the game, you know, but like Game of Thrones might be what changed the game because Game of Thrones is kind of like up and down as well. But like it is usually like if it's not something that they can um immediately visualize creating and putting out there, you know, then like it becomes kind of a problem for them. Wheel of Time too follows the hero's journey, so it is. I can see how they would be. The Wheel of Time is more like it's more possible to adapt a book like that.
Yeah. And I think they spent more on season 1 of Lord of the Rings than all 3 movies. Is that? I think I read that.
Yes,
The budget
yes.
is, I mean,
It's
out of this
huge.
Crazy.
world.
It's huge. It's Bezos, man. Bezos. Like
Yeah. He
Bezos
can
is
afford it, I
funding.
guess.
He can afford. He can even double that if he wants. Like,
It's crazy.
wow.
It's wild, yeah.
That dude lost
But
like 30 billion. He was still the richest man in the world. Wow.
come on, Bezos, adapt the Raven Shadow. Come
The
on.
Raven. I know. That'd be
Dig in
so
your
cool.
couch and make this happen.
I know. You should watch this discussion.
Yeah.
So, guys, wow, I just learned something and I'm a bit heartbroken. But the link for this discussion, I posted it on my Discord, and people are trying to open it, and it said this website, this is a error. It's to give them an error message.
Oh,
So, like, we potentially could have had a lot more people watching this.
I'm watching it on my other monitor here.
Yeah, so I don't know what YouTube, man. Damn it.
Oh,
But anyway,
it's been acting kind of funky lately too, though. So
yeah, I'll post it there. Whoever
yeah,
cares would watch it.
they
Yeah.
can always rewatch if they want
Yeah.
to.
yeah,
Yeah. I have some discussions about this with some people on my Discord because they were kind of warning me, oh, Tower Lord is not as good. But yeah, I want to like let's argue. Let's go at it. You know,
Lies.
I like when I like something and someone doesn't like it, and then they're trying to tell me why it's no good, and I'm telling them why it's good. Let's go. Let's go. Ah, man. My generation is internet kid generation, so let's go, man. I was born for this. But yeah,
cool, good stuff.
Yeah, but that's good to know because then I'll have a look on your Discord.
yeah,
I love to see why people dislike it because often I can understand a different point of view, and here I can see why it's difficult to get into, but I can honestly not really say a lot of negatives.
yeah.
So it would be interesting to see
To
what
see
other
what
people
people
think.
are saying because maybe I'm just lost in the sauce.
Yeah.
Let me see what people are saying. So yeah, like that's the benefit of the booktube community. People like different opinions from you and
Yeah,
seeing how they see things. Like that there's a lot of value in that because you don't know what your blind spots are. But I'm pretty convinced I don't have any. I'm joking, but but let's see. I'm actually eager. I'm actually eager.
yeah, it's
Okay.
gonna be good.
So are you going to start the last book soon or wait closer to the discussion?
No, I like waiting. So I finished the book this morning, and that's why like I'm just like, I'm just like you see. That's why when I'm reading the book, right, and then I stop reading it, I'm like, wow, like he did that, he pulled that off. I'm like, oh, I'm going to say that in a discussion. So I like leaving it because I feel like when I have an idea sit in my head, and then I'm hearing someone talk about it, and then I'm asking myself, is that something I missed, or I start questioning like some of the I start like I'm not as like excited,
Yeah,
So, but like if I read it, I say I finish it in the morning. So what I do, so I listen to the audiobooks, and then what I do is that like I leave it until it's like 3 hours left, and then when I messaged you, I was like, oh, it's at 11, right? I was just confirming. So, like 3 hours from 11, I'm going to finish the remaining 3 hours, and then
that's
like
smart.
yeah, and then like with all the excitement, with all the context.
Keep it fresh.
Yeah.
What
So the
about you,
next,
Steve? Because you have a deadline, right, for a couple of books.
Yeah, I'll probably start here in the next. We'll have to read. I'm reading River of Thieves, and I need to finish Gunslinger, and then I'll probably start this one and Mirror's Truth. Then I'll start
Mhm.
this one.
hmm,
So probably
is-
next week.
yeah, I need to finish Weaver's Sword of Kaigen, River's Sword of Kaigen, and like I think two more books, and then I'll be ready to read the the next one. And the next one is going to be I want to do like a live stream before that day just to get it right. I don't want to be figuring out live streams during that discussion. So I'm probably going to do a live stream before I don't know what about, but before that one, just so that like I'm not like fumbling around the thing.
Well, let
Yeah,
us know if you want to do it.
it's very important as well. You need to validate your account to do live streams, and it
Yeah.
can take up to 24 hours.
Ah,
So it's best to just set it already up on StreamYard so that it's ready to go for when you want to.
oh, okay, good point there. I think Andrew told me the same thing, so
Yeah.
I'm going to try and see if I can do it. It's just like, yo, this challenge thing is killing me, man. It's killing me. I'm learning so much. Like, I feel like right after when I'm done with this challenge, right, my video quality is going to go so high because it's like every the video I released yesterday, I shot I started editing that day. Did everything. Usually that editing would take me like 2.5 days. I started that day and I finished that day, and it's not bad,
That's nice.
So like when I get back into my usual 1-2 videos a week, my I'm going to be so on a different level. So
You can be like Andrew and release a video every 4 hours.
I'm releasing a video. I know, right? Like
That guy's
Andrew
insane.
Crazy.
is insane. He's been so consistent. I don't even know. I don't even know, man. Like, yeah, I want to be like Andrew when I grow up. Like, damn.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
definitely pays off because he has 700 subs now, I think, or very close.
700
So,
subs. But Andrew does a lot of marketing too. Andrew is
yeah,
like on
it's
everyone's
really good.
Discord. Like I don't know where he finds the time, but he's
Yeah.
on everyone's Discord doing body reads here and there. Like and he's such a likable guy as well. Like and he knows his stuff. So like yeah, like I'm so happy for him when I see him just growing and growing and growing. Like he deserves everything that. And like I was on like 295 for so long, and he just like, oh guys, check them out. I got like 13 10 subs like that. It's like wow. So like yeah, I love the guy, man.
Helps out.
Yeah.
So, Epic, you let us know if you are going to do a live,
Yeah.
and we'll make sure to be there and
Yeah.
support.
Just to
If we're invited.
experiment. Yeah. Well, of course you're invited. Like, are you kidding me? I don't even need to move.
Yeah, I'm
Mikasa's
inviting
Mikasa,
myself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll be there.
Yeah. And I really appreciate that.
Knocking on the
Really,
door.
I really, really appreciate that. Like, I've always been scared for a live stream. Just like, shit, what if no one comes up? But,
Oh no.
but yeah, yeah, that would be fun. That would be fun.
Yeah, let us know.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
so
will.
thanks for being here and for reading the books with me. I'm so glad that we're all liking it. And yeah, let's meet up for the last one.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Looking
Yeah.
forward to it.
Yeah.
See you
I'll
later.
see you then. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye everybody.